Week we did 1 through 5, and it's about making commitments or contracts with people, verbal or written. And the New Testament sums it up really well. It says, "Let your yea be yea and your nay be nay." If you say you're going to do it, get it done. If you don't want to do it, or if you're not going to do it, just say no. How many have trouble saying no?
Constantly.
Pardon me?
Constantly. People all the time. All the time. There's a piece of rock out in my truck seat right now. It's a broken baluster. Some hodad from Huron, his son is making a lamp, and it's a broken baluster, which you're starting with a broken piece, and he wanted it cut flat and then hollowed out so he could stick some twisted wood down in it. And I don't really have time for it, to be honest with you. It's too cold to work on it. But I never charge. You know, when they go, "How much you want for it?" Nothing.
Is it okay to say no?
And I do that all the time, constantly.
Is it okay to say no?
Yeah. But I don't have a reason to say no. I don't have a reason to say no. I can make time to do it, so I do it.
Your negligence does not obligate me. Correct?
Yeah, right.
Is that true or not?
Right. My responsibility should not become your responsibility.
Now, sometimes God will want me to say yes and do it. Other times, I used to have a sign on my wall in my office that said, "Your lack of planning does not obligate me to rescue you."
I need to take that one, Leah. Can we get that like on a billboard, outside a semi or something, a truck get out to work?
Yeah.
I like that one.
How big do you want?
Skywriting.
As dumb as those people are, they're gonna have to read it.
That's good. So why do we feel guilty about saying no?
Because you don't want to let anybody down.
Don't want to let anybody down.
It says in here that if you can do something for your neighbor, do it. Right? It says in here somewhere, yeah, it does. It does. It says somewhere in here that why hold something from your neighbor if you can do it, if you have it. Why hold something from your neighbor when you can do it for him? Something like that in here somewhere, right? See, got one. That's good. Anyone?
The problem is though, if you do everything for your neighbor, he's not going to do everything for
Okay,
himself.
see that kind of bothers me, that one, because I have one neighbor in particular that's certainly not godly.
What is the context?
I don't know. That's what I'm here for. That's true. That's what I'm here for.
I can pull a verse out of the Bible that says an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth, but I may be taking it out of context.
Okay.
You know, scriptures are written, and maybe in that situation he's talking about happening within the church. I mean, we can go look the verse up. I know the verse, and I know the context that it's in. And it wasn't put in there to make you a slave to everybody that walks through your yard.
Okay.
Okay? It was put in there for a good reason. But sometimes God wants you to say no. Sometimes you're not helping somebody. We could take a lot of situations today. Originally, welfare was a good thing, but today it's enabling people to be sluggards. We're going to be talking about sluggards in a minute.
Yeah.
And sometimes saying yes to everything doesn't give anybody any incentive to improve themselves.
Or it doesn't give anybody else a chance to help him either. Maybe it's not your responsibility to help him. Maybe you're saying no, we'll let somebody else do it.
I have a certain number of sheep. Somebody called me the other day and said, my daughter is getting married and she wants you to marry her. I said, "What's the date?" They told me the date, and I said, "Can't do it, sorry. That's my granddaughter's birthday." And she was not happy. The woman hasn't said 2 words to me in the 30 years that I've been down here. She's not part of my Sunday school class. She's never, frankly, had a good word to say about me, but somebody told her that I never charge for weddings, I'm sure. And I said no, and I slept very well that night.
Sometimes it seems like it's a signal when somebody is told no, either where they graciously accept no, or if they get upset, like in your case, is a true, in my opinion, in my experience, is a true reflection of whether no should have been said or not. In my opinion, when no is said and then they get mad about it, then that should reinforce to a person that, well, no is the right thing to say to them. Because, you know, and I'm sure we've all seen it, you know, sometimes someone you say no, and they perfectly understand. Other times they get upset and you realize, well,
Now what you
how about that?
Now what you just said was not politically correct.
So it was spot on right.
But it was absolutely dead on. It was a perfect shot.
You can ask my colleagues at work on conference calls that I'm not always politically correct.
Nor should you be. But our society obligates us to all this baggage, and we don't have time to have peace or to serve our family. What's the priority?
Family.
I know I keep coming back to this, but I want you to have it so ingrained in your head that you can live in a world in peace and not have to suffer with false guilt. What's the priority? Number
God.
1, God. Number 2,
Family.
family. Number 3,
Others.
others. Number 4,
Self.
me. Us.
Sometimes though, it can be the family members that when they're told no, go get the politically not correct again, probably.
The worst enemies you may have in your whole entire life will be related to you.
No.
All right, I get it.
It is okay to say no if the Spirit leads you. I am not obligated to do everything for everybody all the time. Somebody else is supposed to be doing something too. And if I do it, I'm relieving them of their blessing and their return from God. All right, 6, 7, and 8.
This is chapter 6.
Yeah.
Take a lesson from the ants, you lazy bones. Learn from their ways and become wise. Though they have no prince or governor or ruler to make them work, they labor hard all summer, gathering food for the winter. But you, lazy bones, how long will you sleep? When will you wake up? A little extra sleep, a little more slumber, a little folding of the hands to rest.
Go ahead and do 11.
Sorry.
Then poverty will pounce on you like a bandit. Scarcity will attack you like an armed robber.
All right, look at the ant. Okay, look at the ant. What do you know about ants?
Aggravating when I get in the house.
They like my kitchen. Little bitty ones.
Yep.
Yep.
They're 10 times stronger than a human
They're 10 times stronger
for
uh,
body mass.
for body size.
Yeah.
You know, I weigh 220 pounds and I can pick up maybe 110, 112 pounds. An ant weighs, if an ant weighs an ounce, he can pick up 5 ounces. Or 10 ounces. Me, I can pick up just about half my body weight. An ant can pick up 10 times his body. How do you suppose he's able to do that? He works all the time. He works all the time. Me, I sit around on the couch too much. You know, I watch too much TV. I won't say I read too much, but sometimes it's my excuse for not doing something else when something else should be done. if you go into a situation where people don't have the leisure time we do, they're a whole lot stronger for their body weight. I remember when I got to Vietnam and we got off the plane, I was dragging 2 duffel bags. And it was, I mean, they were full and they had ammunition and all kind of stuff in them, and they were heavy. And I was dragging them up. This little Vietnamese woman runs up, probably weighed 95 pounds, and said, take your bag, 50 cent, 50 cent, take your bag, 50 cent. So I gave her 50 cents, she picked up both my bags, put one on her head and grabbed the other one, went running across the parking lot and dropped them with all the rest of the bags. And I'm standing there going, I don't think I want to fight these people. I want her to be my friend. She'll pick me up and throw me across the compound. I mean, she just picked that thing up and off she went. We used to struggle with our car tires. And we had this little scrawny, old, wrinkled guy who we hired to change all the tires on all of our trucks, on all of our vehicles. And he'd take the lugs off, roll that thing over, flip it over, take a Maddox and break the ring on it, pull the tire off, flip it over to the side. Little scrawny dude. And I mean, but they worked all the time because they didn't have TVs and they didn't have all the luxuries that we have, and everything. If they wanted to cook rice, they had to beat it out of the husks and roll to get the outside layer off of it, and everything they did by hand, and they worked from the time they got up to the time they went to bed, and they were in a lot better shape than we were. The ants always worked. You ever seen an ant laying in the sun with his belly sticking up, getting a tan?
Under a magnifying glass once.
They're always busy coming and going. Have you ever watched a beehive? In and out, in and out, and out. There's nobody sitting on top of the hive looking around, enjoying the day. Everybody's working. Okay. What's that old saying about idle hands?
Devil's workshop.
Devil's workshop. Idle hands in the devil's workshop. What should a work week look like? 40 hours? 30 hours?
Can't make it on 40 hours.
Huh?
Can't make it on 40 hours.
What's a good thumb from the Bible?
The
What
day
example
your
did
feet
God
touch-
set?
From the day
From
the time your feet hit the floor. From the time your feet hit the floor till you go to bed.
I think it was my grandpa's.
Grandpa.
My grandpa's. How many days did God work?
God worked 6 days.
6 days and 1 he rested. You know, we work 5 and rest 2. But do we? I mean, when you get home, do you just plop down and do nothing?
Seems like generally one of the weekend days is for chores.
That was yesterday.
My kids, my grandkids, really proud of my daughter. My grandkids have never watched TV. They're 3 years old.
Wow.
And they're busy all the time. I mean, and then as she was potty training them, she told them that every time they used the potty, she would let them watch a half hour of Little Einstein. Okay? And so they really got into that, and they liked Little Einstein. So, I mean, she potty trained them when they were 2.5, and with no fight of any kind. I mean, there was an incentive there, and they wanted it. And when they sit on that couch watching that TV, it is amazing. They are hypnotized. They have lost contact with the world. And then when it's over and you turn it off, you get this little bit of a fuss, and you say, no, the agreement, the contract has been fulfilled, you need to go do something else. And they'll whine a little bit, but then they'll pop down and hit the floor and go get their tricycle and go get whatever and get busy. But as long as they're sitting in front of that idiot tube, they are totally detached from the world. You can walk in front of them, you can wave your eyes in front of them, and they are fixed on that tube. They kind of look like me sometimes. And I realized how detrimental a TV can be on a kid. I mean, when they had never seen it, they didn't miss it, and they were constantly busy doing something. The minute she gave it to them as an incentive, and she's real strict about limiting it, we got into this tug of war, and it's obvious when they're sitting there fixed on it, they're not growing in other ways. And and just from that example, I'm seriously thinking about cutting off dish. Because it's not good for me either.
Today's the playoffs. Don't do it today.
I quit watching pro anything a long time ago. The biggest bunch of overpaid babies on the face of the earth. I have no
I just
sympathy
watch
for
for the
any-
commercials.
The commercials sometimes are great. Okay, 9, 10, 11. Now he gets personal. He said, you sluggard. How long will you lie there, you sluggard? How many times have you watched a rerun for the 3rd or 4th time?
Big Bang, yeah.
Dawn of the Dead was on last week. Yeah.
The reason I ask that question, because I'm guilty, you know, and so I can ask you. But is that productive?
No,
Huh?
no.
No.
But it's fun, yeah.
Yeah, you know, I was sitting there watching Seinfeld the other night. There got to be better things on TV. But it came on, and I was watching it, and Janice came in and said, "Haven't we seen that?" And all of a sudden, I thought, "Yeah, about 6 times." It's still funny, but I could have been reading the Bible. I could have, you know, last week I beat you up about reading the Bible. And it came back. It was like, oh man, I beat Carrie up last week. And I'm sitting here watching Seinfeld for the 6th time. And I got my Kindle Fire out and turned to Proverbs and started reading Proverbs. But why do we do that? I mean, what is accomplished in that? It makes us overweight, out of shape, and mentally it causes us to degrade. Watching Seinfeld will do nothing for your brain. Nothing. I don't know what you watch. If you're guilty, I didn't come to beat on you. You're guilty because the Holy Spirit did.
My problem is sleep. I want to come home and I'll just go to sleep. So if anybody can give me a wake-up call about 5 p.m. every day, that would be great.
I'll tell you, we could kill 2 birds with 1 stone, because when I get home, I don't really want to just jump back in and start doing stuff. Or if I had a really good day at work, that means coming home and start working.
Yeah.
But, you know, you just swing by the house, you can do my chores, I'll go take a nap, and there you go. Always thinking, Bill. I'm not always thinking right, but I'm always thinking.
I would get in the middle of
It
that.
is. I don't know why I feel better doing something for somebody else. If I'm doing it for myself, I don't want to do it. If I'm doing it for somebody else,
You know,
I'm more apt to do it.
what's that old saying that the cobbler's kids are the ones without shoes? I am so guilty of the same thing. Somebody else will say, hey, wire my kitchen, and I'm loading tools in the back of the car. And I've been trying to do a 2-hour wiring job in the basement for all summer. Why not just go do it? And then I sat there and watched Seinfeld. 12 through 15.
A scoundrel and villain who goes about with a corrupt mouth, who winks with his eye, signals with his feet, and motions with his fingers, who plots evil with deceit in his heart, he always stirs up dissension. Therefore disaster will overtake him in an instant, he will suddenly be destroyed without remedy.
Now, notice it says a scoundrel and a villain, not a person who had a bad day, or not a person who made a mistake. Okay? But how often do you find yourself immersed in sin and didn't know how you got there?
I know how I got there.
We all do. We felt it coming on. We felt the aggravation beginning to rise. We felt the temptation beginning to pull. We knew that we were considering something that we shouldn't be considering, didn't we? Mm-hmm. And then slowly but surely we allowed it to tug and pull along until we found ourselves in the midst of the sin. Is the temptation a sin?
No.
No, it's always
The source of the temptation is the devil and his little buddies following around after us, trying to pull us off the path that we studied in chapter 4. He comes along and he says, hey, look over there. Looks good, doesn't it? He won't miss one apple. Go eat one. No. But the longer we look at the apple, we begin to make excuses. We begin to justify. We begin to, well, you know, like last year there was 10 bushel of apples fell off that tree and rotted on the ground. So, you know, I'm just going to eat one of the ones that he's not going to use. That makes it okay, right? Now, if you go over and knock on the door and say, do you have any extra apples? I'd like to have some if you do. That's a different story. But why do we have to pick the apple at midnight?
Tastes better at midnight.
Or when he's at work. When I was a kid, I found out that you can't properly thump a watermelon until after midnight. There was a truck farmer down the road who had a watermelon patch. We ate a lot of watermelon in the summer. And I found out that the best time to thump was after midnight. Right? No. Don't nod your head at me. I shouldn't have been out there stealing watermelons.
What's that rock salt feel like, Bill?
What?
I said, what's that rock salt from the shotgun blast feel like, Bill?
I think old Mr. Judy knew it and didn't care. He didn't care. But that didn't make him right on my part. He could have gone out there any night and found a kid in that watermelon patch eating a watermelon. But he always, after he had shipped all that he could possibly ship and filled all his contracts, there was watermelons left. Mr. Judy just let us do it. But that didn't make it right on my part. I should have asked. Okay, but a scoundrel, he plots, corrupt mouth. Goes about with a corrupt mouth who winks with his eye. What does that suggest to you? What's a corrupt mouth?
Would it be like lying?
Hmm?
Lying?
Yes. Lying. What else? Is it usually a blatant lie? If he's a scoundrel, is it usually a blatant lie?
Deception.
Or is it a cloaked lie?
Yeah.
Deceiving lie? A half-truth?
Or he'll tell you one thing and do something else, kind of two-faced, and
Say what?
he'll tell you one thing to your face and then do something else.
Yeah.
Money back guarantee.
Or he'll tell you half-truth. It'll it'll have just enough truth in it to make it sound legitimate, but in the end, he ends up stealing your whatever. Well, you said, are you gonna have any extra? Yeah, I might. If I do, I'll let you know. And the next thing you know, all your sweet potatoes are gone. Did you say your sweet potatoes? Well, you said I could take them. I didn't say you could take them. Yeah, you said, and he repeats your words back to you in such a way, he turns them in just such a way that he got permission to steal all your sweet potatoes.
Some people
No.
are good at that.
Huh?
I said some people are good at that. My
Very good
ex-husband
at
was
that.
really good at that.
And they're scoundrels.
They get good because they practice.
Okay. He has a corrupt mouth, he winks with his eye, and he signals with his feet. The direction he's going indicates what he's doing. Just like Mike said a little while ago, the response to saying no shows you the original intent. A lot of times you see that with a deceiving person. If you just sit back and think about it for a second, you'll see where he's leading you off to, and it's a bad place. He plots deceit, dissension, disaster. That's a progression that will take you to a situation that has a disastrous end. Well, a disaster will overtake him in an instant, and he will suddenly be destroyed without remedy. In other words, he gets caught. Have you ever at the last minute caught somebody doing something like this and confronted him? Love it. Have you ever done that? Maybe at work, or
People cheat on their
maybe.
taxes all the time.
Huh?
Yeah, people cheat on their taxes all the time.
Yeah.
And then they get a letter and bring it in and.
Then all of a sudden you say, all of a sudden they're telling you one thing. Well, this was a work-related expense. I had to buy boots.
You didn't have to buy Tony Lomas.
And you find out they're $250 deer hunting boots, and this guy's an accountant. Is that a work-related expense? And then you confront him, and what's the response? What do you think the response is?
It's usually, well, you told me I could use that.
Pardon me?
It's usually, well, you told me I could use
Yeah,
that.
you told me I could do work-related expenses. A lot of times, being a postmaster, somebody will call and have a complaint against a carrier, and they'll give me this big old long line about he did this and he did that, and my mail got wet, and he didn't shut the door, and the mail got wet and destroyed my check, and okay, all right.
Hungry.
I'll talk to him as soon as he comes in, and so in the meantime I go and investigate it. There's no door on the mailbox. It's tied to the side of a tree. It's pointing up. And so I write him up for having an improper mailbox that doesn't have a door and isn't the right distance from it. And there's 9 things wrong with his mailbox, but he wants me to kill the carrier. Okay? So I go up and I knock on the door and I say, number 1, you are obligated to have a box secured on a post. You are obligated to have a box with a door that will protect the mail. You are so my mailman gets my mail wet and you're going to attack me. That's the response you always get when you catch them in the lie. All of a sudden they start to defend themselves and try to put you on the defensive. And I'll stand there and listen to them until they shut up, and then I'll say, and number 3, number 4, and number 5, fix your mailbox. You can pick your mail up at the post office as soon as you get a proper mailbox out there on a post secured by the side of the river. But the response is always, you're attacking me. no, you lied, and I caught you in it, and now you're gonna fix it. They never say, yeah, you know, I lied, I shouldn't have done that. Will you forgive me? How many times do you get that response? No, it's like, I'm gonna call your boss and I'm gonna get you fired. Need the number?
Yeah.